Sister? Okay. Did he ever tell you he had a son?
He did.
When was that?
It was during the winter, early spring before he passed. So I spent quite a few nights with him, and so I don't know the exact date, but it was between January and April of 24.
Okay. When did you first speak with attorney Craig Turpin about Tracy being the son of the decedent?
I first spoke with Craig Turpin before I even knew Tracy existed, but the day before the hearing in which Mr. Turpin requested that Eileen be made PR, I sent an email and I went to Mr. Turpin's office with the document stating that Tracy Clifton was Marty's son. I also filed that paperwork in the court.
All right. Before we go any further, it's been brought to my attention that there's some inappropriate behavior by observers, that people are making faces, laughing, and things like that. And so, Ashley, I'm directing when you see that happen, you can place that person into the waiting room. They will no longer be allowed at the hearing. You can be placed them into the waiting room.
Mom, you need to keep your face.
Thank you.
You've been warned. Anybody who's observing, you've been warned.
Okay. Thank you. Elaine, did Judge Brickhouse at the hearing on April 30th to appoint the personal representative, was Judge Brickhouse made aware of Tracy's existence?
Well,
Objection speculation. Mr. Romero wasn't present at the hearing.
oh, but I listened to the audio of it.
So maybe rephrase the question then, Ms. Milich.
Okay. Did you listen to the audio of the April 30th hearing where Eileen McBride was appointed personal representative of the estate?
Yes.
Did you hear at any time anyone inform Judge Brickhouse that the decedent had a son?
It wasn't until after the majority of the hearing had taken place, and then Mr. Turpin said, well, there is one more thing I should mention, that there may be a possible son. And the best that I recall, Judge Brickhouse told him to be sure to do his due diligence, because if there was a son, then it would change everything.
Okay. Did you, so you went and got a DNA test?
That's correct.
And what did it show?
It showed that Tracy was the son of one of my brothers. It showed that I was his aunt.
Okay. Could it have been one of your two brothers that was not Marty Romero?
No, because one, Kevin Romero, who's on the screen there, is only 1 year older. And my other brother, who is deceased, was only 6 years older than Tracy.
Okay.
And what was that brother's name?
I'm sorry?
What was the 6-year-old brother's name?
That would be, he's deceased. Kenneth.
Right.
We go by Kenneth, we go by Kenny Romero.
Kenny.
Okay. Did you tell attorney Craig Turpin that Tracy wanted to live in the estate residence?
Yes, we made that very clear.
And what was Craig Turpin's response?
It was on the phone call that Mr. Turpin was talking to Tracy about. And Mr. Turpin's response was, that's a good idea, because Tracy offered to pay the mortgage, and also he was even considering paying the estate costs up to that point. And Mr. Turpin said, that's a good idea. I'll need to get permission from the other heirs.
And did he get permission from the other heirs?
When he reached back to us, he had permission from Miss McBride, the PR, and one of the other heirs, but one heir was saying no. So at that point, there were 3 of us who agreed Tracy should move into the home, and one who was saying no.
Okay, and by other heirs, are you referring to your brothers and, your sisters?
Yes, I'm
Siblings.
referring to Evelyn Romero, who's on the screen, Kevin Romero on the screen, and Eileen McBride, who's also on the screen.
Okay, are you ready and willing to serve as personal representative?
Absolutely.
Okay, do you want to serve as personal representative in any event?
No, I would not feel comfortable, as we've already seen the faces that were being made, those type of things. I've been dealing with that since the night my brother died, and I cannot work with my siblings, so I would only do it if Tracy were the heir.
Okay, what are your intentions as personal representative if you were appointed?
My first intention would be to prevent the home from going into foreclosure. My brother loved that home. He spent the last 2 years of his life creating that home. And my other intention would be for it to be passed on to his family, Tracy, and to his granddaughter, who he never had an opportunity to even know of, Samantha Clifton.
Okay, what did you do to facilitate Tracy receiving his inheritance?
What I have done was first finding him. Second, letting the heirs or my other siblings know about him, letting Mr. Turpin know about him, filing paperwork in the court to be sure that the court knew about him, and then I just started working through Mr. Turpin. I was hoping that by him knowing that there was an heir, that it would maybe shift things a little bit.
Did you try to buy the home?
I did.
Can you tell me a little about that?
When I kept asking them to pause the sale of the home until the DNA results were returned, they were within 2 weeks of returning when I asked them to pause the sale. Mr. Turpin, well, first they told me, sure, we'll pause the sale if you will make a mortgage payment. I said, yes, I'll make a mortgage payment. Send me the address. They never did. Then they said, they would be Mr. Turpin and Eileen McBride. Then I was told that I could pay the amount that was owed on the house.
How much was that?
First it was $5,000 and some dollars, which Mr. Turpin sent me the document for, but that was sent 1 month after they had received it. So I kept asking how much is due and where do I send it to make sure that the loan would be reinstated. So Eileen McBride told me that it was at that point over $7,000 and I should just send the money directly to her. I didn't feel comfortable doing that, so I asked her for documentation of how much money it was and where I could send it, but she never sent it to me. After that, they put the house for sale. They sent notice of first rights of refusal. So I called up the realtor. I let him know that unless Tracy Clifton were going to purchase it, I would want to purchase it.
Okay, at any time did you receive a notice to cure from Attorney Turpin?
Mr. Turpin sent it embedded in a lot of other information, yes.
Why didn't you fill it out and send it back?
It was already 1 month late after the date that he sent it to me.
Okay. So did you make an offer on the house?
Yes, I did.
And was it accepted?
Yes, it was. Well, we went into negotiation.
Okay, so was there a counter offer?
Yes.
And did you accept that counter offer, or did you make a counter offer?
We made a counter offer on that counter offer because it was actually a very aggressive offer.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it was a substantial amount of money, $5,000. Half of that would not be able to go to closing costs. And also, I had to have the money like within 3 days, and I had just heard about it, so I needed to get my finances in order to come up with $5,000 cash. Also, the fee for my realtor would have been half the regular fee that a realtor would get.
What is the regular fee a realtor would get?
I believe it's the.
Objection, speculation. There's been no foundation laid to determine whether she's an expert in real estate dealings.
I don't think you have to be an expert as to what you negotiated as the fee for your realtor.
It's 3% generally, and my realtor was offered 1.5%.
Okay, and did you accept that counteroffer?
No, I asked for all the fees to be, well, I asked for the TOM fee, the time off market fee, to be reduced, because that fee, amazingly, was the exact same number that Mr. Turpin had just sent us documentation that every heir would receive $2,500. They gave me a TOM fee of $2,500 that was non-refundable and would not go towards closing costs.
Okay.
All right, so we're at 3:05 p.m.
It's gonna go.
Okay,
And so if you have just like a minute or two,
okay.
then you can do that. But then, Mr. Turpin would be entitled to cross-examination, so we're
So
definitely.
if I can finish just because it's very important, we did not,
No, you don't
I'm
determine that. I determine that.
I'm sorry,
Last time I knew the person in the black robe determines that. What's going to happen at this hearing? Do you have a black robe, ma'am? Do you have a law degree?
no, thank you.
Do you have the name?
Education degree.
Okay.
I'll leave the law to you.
Okay. All right. And so here. Okay. So we're going to stop the hearing because there's at least one more witness anyway, Miss Millage, right? That Mr. Turpin
Yes.
present Miss McBride, right? Okay. Here's what's going to happen in the meantime. So the hearing will be continued. You can submit a request for continuation of hearing. In the meantime, here's the order that needs to be drafted. Okay. Are counsel ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so here's what needs to happen until the court rules on the application for restraining order, and that is that the personal representative will participate according to the FSP requirements. Again, that's the foreclosure settlement program. The court's FSP requirements, and that Tracy, this is what I'll do. Miss Romero can also participate in the FSP program. I think that that's appropriate. Let's make it pretty straightforward. I think that's probably the way to go. And you're going to need that order in order for Miss Romero to be able to participate, so that the FSP attorneys, those mediators, know who's entitled to participate in the proceedings. They have telephonic status conferences, they have telephonic mediations, they have a whole infrastructure for how they run that program. And so I think this order with her name on it should take care of her being able to participate. And that way there, is communication from FSP to these individuals. That is the personal representative as well as Ms. Romero, an interested party on behalf of either herself or Tracy Clifton, depending on what happens down the road. And so again, there will be compliance with the FSP requirements, participation as required. Because here's what happens. If there isn't participation, then an order is prepared for the judge to lift the stay and allow the foreclosure to proceed. And so that's why I'm saying it needs to be Ms. McBride and Ms. Romero participating and making sure that they comply with all of those requirements. And as long as they're participating in FSP, the stay is in effect. And again, that means there's suspension of all deadlines
It
for the
freezes.
litigation. And the bank cannot proceed. Okay, is anybody living in the property?
No,
Ask that. Nobody's living in the property?
No, Your Honor.
And so is the personal representative preserving the property, Mr. Turpin, appropriately?
Yes, Your Honor. We've taken steps to ensure that there's weekly check-ins to make sure that all of the entire property is secured.
Okay, all right, because it's not unusual that unfortunately sometimes squatters go into vacant properties in Albuquerque. That's actually a fairly common occurrence, unfortunately. Saying that there are weekly checks on the property?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. that needs to continue. That is preservation of the property. Preservation and securing, I should say, of the property as an asset of the estate. Are there any other assets, or is it just the house?
There is currently a truck that has been listed for salvage, as well as a few miscellaneous personal property items that have been distributed as an interim distribution to the siblings of the decedent. Elaine Romero has also requested at the time of that distribution some items for Mr. Clifton. So among 5 individuals, that's Eileen McBride, Tracy Clifton, Elaine Romero, Kevin Romero, and Evelyn Rios, most of the decedent's personal property can be accounted for. Some of it was sold during an estate sale prior to the presumed sale of the home before the sale was stopped, but those proceeds are currently kept by the personal representative, obviously separate from her own assets.
I was going to say, and that's in an estate account?
It was in an estate account. It is currently in a lockbox. The truck had been sold for $4,000, and the estate account required above a certain threshold. When that $4,000 was returned to the buyer and the truck was returned to the estate account was closed. We're currently looking at different estate accounts to make sure that that can be properly maintained with financial records.
Okay, all right. And has there been I don't remember if I saw an inventory or not.
An inventory has not been filed.
Is that an agreement? That an inventory would be filed? I know sometimes there's an agreement.
No agreement. A preliminary inventory has been provided to each alleged heir, the siblings of the decedent, as well as Mr. Clifton, for review. And then each heir has been kept apprised of the ongoings of the estate administration. No formal inventory has been prepared because we were unsure about what that residence looked like. So that's currently being done. I've informed my client that we need to make sure that an inventory is properly formatted before final submission to everybody.
Okay, yeah, that needs to happen, definitely. I think, looks as though that date's coming up pretty quickly, right, Mr. Turpin?
Yes, Your Honor, you're correct.
Maybe even, probably was today, actually, right?
You got it. Yeah, the 16th was the official deadline, 90 days from
Right.
appointment.
Right. So I think it was over the weekend, which means today, right? The 90 days for that inventory. And you're saying it's being finalized?
I believe it should be ready for distribution, might be misleading, circulation among everybody later on today or very early tomorrow morning, since it's now the house, the truck, items of personal property, and that'll be a 2-page document.
Okay, all right. And so that's it as far as the assets of the estate then? House, truck, personal items?
Yes, Your Honor.
Nothing else? Okay. All right, well, then that's how we'll proceed, at this juncture. The only other actions I would say the personal representative should take would be by stipulation or upon court order.
Yes, Your Honor. I am using the standard in the Uniform Probate Code that says whenever a petition for removal is filed, the personal representative shall only take actions necessary for the preservation and safeguarding of the estate, and also for accounting. Is that the standard you're referring to?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
As a general proposition, but having said that, if there's an objection, right, as to what that means, right, then in that case, you either got to get a stipulation or you got to get a court order, right? If there's an objection as to whether certain actions are being taken only as necessary for preservation, right, then at that point you got an objection, you can't resolve it, then it has to be court order, right?
Okay. Yeah. In that case, I'd like to have a very small moment and see if the parties will stipulate to allowing Ms. McBride as the personal representative to open a new estate account with a lower threshold in order to safeguard the funds received from the estate sale.
That's fine.
Thank you very
Once
much.
that estate account is open, of course, notice needs to be given as to where that account was opened up.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. I think that's it for now.
And Your Honor, if I may, who would you like to draft that?
I don't have any strong feelings one way or another. This is not necessarily I mean, you know what? I'll have you do it.
Okay.
Just counsel for move-in, and to some extent, I am limiting the actions of the personal representative. I was going to say I would let you all decide, because it sounded like Mr. Turpin might have already been sort of preparing as we were talking in order, but maybe I'm wrong on that. And so if you all come to a different agreement with regards to that, that's fine. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, and I'll get that to Mr. Turpin, as soon as possible, probably tomorrow or the next day.
And then the sooner you submit that request for hearing, the sooner you can get on the calendar.
Okay,
I do have a jury trial docket coming up, and so my time is, as well as other hearings, so my time is pretty limited.
yeah,
And
y'all
then
are busy.
in about the next 30 days, it's pretty limited, I can tell you.
Okay. Will it be held within the next 10 days or?
I can't tell you that. You have to get the request for hearing in. Our calendar changes every day.
Okay,
Things come off, other emergency hearings get on. Sometimes I have to rule on pretrial issues for cases that are set for trials. I've said I do have a case that is set to go to trial in 3 weeks. And so there tends to be a flurry of activity right before.
okay, we'll get that filed today, the request for hearing.
Okay. And so I'll look forward to receiving that proposed form of order. We are in recess. Take care.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.